what's up? It's your boy Rawk. Quick! I need a multiplayer title for the Nintendo 64, and I need it yesterday. I was thinking something more like Hey You Pikachu, but sure, this works. I don't know what happened to Mario Kart 2 to 63, and quite frankly, I don't want to know. The Nintendo 64 was a multiplayer machine. It obviously had some single-player focused titles, but with its 4 controller ports and quirky design, this console was at its best with 3 friends, a pizza, and a multiplayer game to play until the early hours of the morning. With the turn of a new console generation, it's inevitable that a lot of series would begin to make the jump from the previous platform, especially if they performed well. So considering the fact that Super Mario Kart sold over 8 million units, a sequel was no longer a matter of if, it was a matter of when. Initially developed under the name Super Mario Kart R, this game was intended to stay pretty true to the original Super Nintendo game, in an effort to not alienate more casual players. The most notable thing about this game's development history is that it originally featured Kamek as one of the 8 playable characters, but for one reason or another, he didn't make the cut. That's okay. Kamek only had to wait nearly 30 years. If this Mario Kart sequel didn't even have Kamek, then what did it have going for it? Well, let's find out. You know things are serious when the Nintendo logo goes 3D on us.
Welcome to Mario Kart!
Mario Kart 64, released on the Nintendo 64 on June 24th, 1997 here in the UK. And for a lot of people, this was the game that defined the Nintendo 64 as a system. The game was developed first and foremost with 4-player compatibility in mind, which made this the perfect title for you and a couple of friends to kill a couple of hours in. But I'm not multiple, I'm singular. So what does this game have in store for me? Mario Kart 64 offers 3 speed classes, much like its predecessor, but 150cc is available right from the get-go. I don't trust you. After picking a speed, we then get to pick a character, and the roster here is full of familiar faces. Mario, Luigi, Peach, Toad, Yoshi, and Bowser all return from the first game. Where is he? Donkey Kong Jr. and Koopa Troopa didn't make the leap to the Nintendo 64, instead being replaced with Wario and Donkey Kong. I mean, I'm okay with it. Donkey Kong makes a lot more sense than Donkey Kong Jr., but Donkey Kong Jr. was a whole lot funnier. And then Wario? I don't know, man. The Wario Land series had recently started on the Game Boy. That's about all I've got. I'll get into my opinions on the characters in due time, but for right now, I'm just gonna pick Yoshi and get into some racing. Oh my god. The best way I can describe the way this game feels is by saying that it feels like Mario Kart. The gameplay here has a completely different feel to it compared to the first game. In my opinion, Super Mario Kart felt pretty good to play. The controls were quite tight, which was fun in its own way, but here in 64, the controls are a lot more loose and kind of floaty. And the game is infinitely better because of it. This game's controls feel outright wacky, which adds immeasurably to the chaotic nature of Mario Kart. But that looser control doesn't at all affect the game's playability. The controls are as responsive as can be, so it almost always feels like you're fully in control of your racer's movements. There just isn't that rigidity that the original game had, which I think works in this game's favor. The drifting has been massively improved here too. It actually feels like it makes a difference. It's not perfect by any means, but it's so much better than it was in Super Mario Kart. And you get a mini turbo boost from successfully pulling off a drift, which gives you a reason to actually try. In practice, I never really noticed these speed boosts, like, at all, but I found myself drifting a ton regardless. The gameplay here is just so defined definitively Mario Kart. This is exactly what I expect the gameplay for this series to be like. Just the right amount of wagginess, mixed with just the right amount of skill. It definitely hasn't aged flawlessly, but it's so damn good. Now let's talk about the characters. The characters in this game pull a Donkey Kong Country on us, and are actually all just 2D sprites made from 3D models. And honestly, especially when playing on original hardware, this looks really damn good. I could have easily been convinced these were 3D models, especially with how well they blend with the backgrounds, which are 3D. It's a really cool effect. Now, unlike in Super Mario Kart, all of the characters in this game actually feel good to play as. There wasn't a single character I disliked playing as here, which yes, does include Peach and Bowser.
I never thought I'd see the day.
I will say, I did tend to veer away from the lighter characters like Toad and Peach, for one simple reason. The boost start. Whenever you start a race with a boost in any position other than first, you'll end up flying into the back of another racer. And if you're playing as a lighter character, that basically has the same effect as running into a banana peel, which kind of just means it's not worth it. Characters like Mario, Luigi, and Yoshi were fine to play as. Donkey Kong and Bowser were fun because running into any other racer would ruin their weekend plans. But I honestly had the most fun playing as Wario here. He was the perfect blend between the light and heavy characters gameplay-wise. And that was all topped off with this f***ing laugh. Yeah, the characters in this game all have voices now, which in my opinion is a necessity for Mario Kart. Mario, Luigi, and Wario are voiced by Charles Martinet. Peach has a pretty weird voice, which is different than her voice in Mario 64 and most titles that followed Mario Kart 64. Donkey Kong and Bowser have animal sounds, and Toad is a toddler. I love this. Weirdly enough though, Yoshi's voice clips are taken directly from Super Mario World and Yoshi's Island. And you know what? As much as I love modern Yoshi's voice, I think I might prefer this, at least for Mario Kart. The inclusion of voices just enhances every aspect of the game. Hitting Toad with an item and hearing him scream while Wario cackles like a damn witch. It's amazing! The items in this game are pretty fun. All of the items from Super Mario Kart return here, with the exceptions of the feather and coins. Allow me to show you a graph of who cares. We have a few new items here, such as the triple mushroom, the golden mushroom, which just gives you unlimited boosts for a small time period, the banana bunch, which is 5 banana peels rather than the 3 it would be in later entries, triple shells, the fake item box, which actually looks like a normal item box, which actually makes it something you could actually get hit by. Take notes, Mario Kart Wii. And then the spiny shell, or as I used to call it, the first place bomb. I wonder why I called it that. In my experience, I never got hit by this thing. There's an argument to be made that that's because I was never in first. I never said I disagreed. The items in this game are so satisfying to use. Using them on opponents is so snappy, and the effects of the items in this game are catastrophic. You get hit by a shell and you get sent into fucking orbit. It's fantastic. And this is all accompanied by cartoony text on the screen that really emphasizes what's happening in such a fun way. And what really makes hitting opponents with items a blast is the fact that they're cheating, lying bastards! Rubber banding artificial intelligence is a term that essentially means the computer players will cheat in order to keep the game more interesting. So you're not just cruising about the place in first for an entire race. This concept existed in the first game. It's taken too far here. As soon as you enter first place, there's a timer put on your life. You could be miles ahead of your opponents and they'll catch up to you absurdly fast. And even though this leads to having to constantly fight off a stream of CPUs driving faster than you'll ever be able to at all times, leaving very little wiggle room for you to have any sort of comfortable lead, I actually kind of love it. The way the computer players are can make for some of the most intense races I've ever played in this series, fighting tooth and nail just to stay in first place a little bit longer, desperately reaching out for an item box and hoping to God for something useful. It's oddly thrilling. Although I will say, when I can do the Rainbow Road mega shortcut and still be caught up to, that's how you know things have gone too far. But hold your fucking horses! We can't talk about Rainbow Road first. We have to talk about the tracks that come before it. Starting in the Mushroom Cup with Luigi Circuit.
Naturally.
This track is as basic Mario Kart as Mario Kart is basic, but I honestly really like it. The big turns give you a great opportunity to get used to this game's drifting, and the tunnel is fun.
Now you might think that means that I'm easy to please, but joke's on you. I actually have pretty high standard. Ooh, fire!
We have Moo Moo Farm, and God, these fucking moles! I like this track generally. The theme's a little but it's fun to play on. Koopa Troopa Beach is great. It has a couple of shortcuts that require mushrooms, and trust me, I learned that the hard way. You wake up being excited to take the cave shortcut in Koopa Troopa Beach, and then reality sets in. Calamari Desert is fantastic. It takes place in a desert? No. And there's this big train that you have to either stop and wait for or try to outrun. And you can go into the tunnel and follow the track all the way around and have it not count your lap and come 7th. It's great! Of all of the ways for me to find out you can't progress until you finish in the top 4, this seems the most fitting. Then we have the Flower Cup. Toad's Turnpike is great. Having to weave between all of the traffic, pulling off the road to grab item boxes. I'd say it was like driving on an actual motorway, but that would be incriminating. Frabby Snowland is pretty alright. The snowmen piss me off to no end. It seems like no matter what I do in this section, I can't avoid them. But on the whole, this track is pretty fun. Choco Island is really cool, with the boulders falling on this bitch of a turn, the section right after it where you can fall back onto the part of the track you've just been racing on, and these 3 bumps at the end of the level. It's great. Mario Circuit? Well, it has this pipe, and the audience get to wear a giant Mario hat, but other than that, it's just fine. The Star Cup kicks off with Wario Stadium. That's it, this is your life now. This track goes on forever, but I'd be lying if I said it wasn't a fun forever. The copy-pasted Wario faces really do it for me here. I love Sherbet Land. The penguins can be a bit of a pain in the arse, especially in the cave area, but hey, there's this item box that gives me really good items. That makes everything better. Royal Raceway pisses me off. It's a fine track, and this huge jump is pretty fun, but there's a load of slopes that if you even look at funny, send you plummeting into the water. I hate them. But hey, you get to explore Peach's castle here, which is really cool. You should probably do this in time trials though, and not during an actual race. I'll take that 8th place with dignity, damn it. Bowser's Castle? Ooh! Thematically, this is my favorite course in the game, but these thwomps can absolutely eat shit. They're damn near impossible to avoid. Seeing you in captivity makes me a special kind of happy. And finally, the Special Cup. DK's Jungle Parkway is awesome, but this part with the jump always irked me. Like, if you do the jump straight on, you either go off-road or have to stop and give yourself time to turn around. But if you try and veer to the left, you suffer the consequences. Also, the boat can hurt you. Because of course it can. Yoshi Valley is funny. There are like 6 different routes to take to get to the finish line, and the game just doesn't even try to tell you who's in the top 4 positions because of it.
Oh, my job? That seems like a you problem.
I love Banshee Boardwalk so much. Some of the longer stretches are a bit narrow for my liking, and the inside parts with the bats is a bit funky, but it makes up for that tenfold thematically. It's so damn good. And finally, Rainbow Road, the longest track in the game. sometimes. I adore this track, with the neon character heads in the background, the crazy gravity, the half-submerged chain chomps. This track is such a blast to play on, and if it's a bit too long for your liking, then why not take advantage of that wacky gravity and skip the first third of the track? Just make sure you don't overshoot it.
Now the racetracks in this game are all fine and good, but what if, instead of racing against your friends, you'd prefer to kill them? Well, I might have a suggestion for you. This gun's name is Block Fort.
Battle mode. One of, if not the best features of this game. Much like in the first game, this mode is exclusive to multiplayer and doesn't allow you to play against CPUs. But that's made up for by some of the most iconic battle maps the series has ever known. Big Donut, Block Fort, Skyscraper, Double Deck is a fucking lie. There are 4 layers at play here. I'm glad I'm too lonely to experience this properly. One thing that's really cool about this mode that never returned in any other game is that when you're out of balloons, you turn into a bomb that can be used to completely kill off another player. Fuck you, my left hand!
And that was pretty much Mario Kart 64. Definitely a game best enjoyed in multiplayer, but honestly, I think the single player experience still holds up really damn well. If you ask me, this is where the Mario Kart series truly began. Because this is where the Super Mario Kart series began. This game is so perfectly Mario Kart to me. It's so wacky and chaotic, yet still requires enough skill, which makes it consistently a blast to return to time and time again. It's not the best in the series, but it's so damn good. But it'll always play second fiddle to Hey You Pikachu. So it's what it deserved.